Today we're going to change the oil on the Cub Cadet 33-inch work line. However, before we get started, here are some items that you may need. Oil drain tube, oil filter pliers, funnel, and new oil. The first step that you're going to do is to ensure that the power to the mower is turned off. Do this by ensuring that the key is turned in the off position and remove the key. Next, you're going to locate your oil drain reservoir on the side of the mower and ensure it's clean and free of debris. Next, you'll want to install your oil drain tube on the oil drain valve. Do this by first removing the oil drain valve cover and inserting the tube. Next, you want to ensure that you have your oil catch pan to catch the used oil as it flows out of the motor. Next step, loosen the oil dipstick to allow air to the reservoir and allow the oil to flow out more freely. Next, you want to remove the cap from your oil catch pan and open the end of your oil drain tube. The next step in draining oil is to turn the oil drain valve counterclockwise to the open position so that the oil can flow freely into the oil catch pan. This process will take 3 to 5 minutes to allow the oil completely drain from the oil reservoir. Once the oil is completely drained, you will want to replace the cap of the oil drain tube and close the reservoir by pushing in and turning clockwise. Once that's done, pull out the oil drain tube and reinsert the cap for the oil drain valve. One thing you want to be sure to do is replace the cap on your oil catch pan and remove it from your work area so that you do not trip over it or kick it over and spill it. Our next step is to replace the oil filter. Next, you're going to get your oil filter pliers to remove the oil filter. Before you attempt to remove the oil filter, what I like to do is to place a rag underneath the oil filters, because when you take off the filter, there will be some residual oil that will spill out. This will prevent it from getting all over the mower. What you want to do is to place your oil filter wrench around the oil filter and turn it counterclockwise. Once it gets loose enough, you can remove it by hand. Take your oil filter and place it in your oil catch pan. Next, you want to remove the rag with the excess oil and ensure you clean any excess oil away from where the oil filter goes. Now that you have your new oil filter, what you'll want to do is get some of that residual oil from where the oil filter goes, get a little dab on your finger. What this allows you to do is to lubricate the rubber gasket on your oil filter. Lubricating the gasket will provide it and make it easier for you the next time you remove your oil filter. Now that the gasket is lubricated, you can reinstall the oil filter where it belongs. When you put on the oil filter, you do not, I say again, do not want to use the oil filter wrench. You just want to place the oil filter on there until it's hand tight. You have now installed the oil filter. Our next step is to go ahead and add the new engine oil. Now that we have drained the oil, replace the oil drain valve, took off the old oil filter and replaced it with the new one, what's left to do is to add the new oil. You're going to do that by removing the oil dipstick. And as you remove it, you want to wipe it off to make sure any residual oil does not drop on the floor of the deck or over the mower. You can set that aside. I typically just place it right there on top of the mower. Once you have the dipstick out, I prefer to use a funnel because it's less of a mess and allows you to get all the oil into the mower. Next, you will take your oil. This particular mower calls for 5W30, and go ahead and pour it into the engine reservoir. Next I'm applying the other container of oil. Together will be a total of 1 quart. Now that you have put oil into the mower, it is time to check the level to ensure it's at the correct operation level. Also, to do that, we want to remove the funnel. To check the level properly, what we need to do is insert the dipstick back into the engine reservoir. Now that we have stuck the dipstick back in, now all you do to check it is to take out the dipstick and check the oil level versus the oil level indicator. Now, checking the oil on the oil level indicator, it appears that we are still a little bit low on oil. So at this time, you will reinsert your funnel and add more oil as needed to get it in between the 2 dots, which indicates the full level of oil. Once you have added your additional oil, remove the funnel and again check the level of your oil. Again, checking the level of the oil is as simple as replacing the dipstick. Make sure it's fully seated. Once it is fully seated, turn it counterclockwise and remove the dipstick. Okay. As you can see now, the oil level is within tolerance of the oil fill indicators. At this time, you can clean the dipstick with your rag, reinsert it into the dipstick reservoir. Once the dipstick is fully seated, you now want to reinsert your key and turn the mower on, letting it run for about 2 minutes. What this does is allow the oil to circulate inside the engine and fill the oil filter. Once it has run for 2 minutes, you can turn the mower off and we will check the oil level again to ensure that we're still in tolerance within the oil indicator on the dipstick. After you have ran your mower for approximately 2 minutes and turned it off, it is now time again to check the oil level of the engine. Do this again by removing the dipstick, cleaning it off with your rag, reinserting, ensuring that it is properly seated, unscrew the dipstick, and pull it out to check the level on the indicators. As you can see, we are still within the tolerance level of the oil indicator fill lines. Now, just replace your oil dipstick, ensure it's properly seated, and you have successfully changed oil on your Cub Cadet 33-inch walk-behind mower. So what we have shown you today is how to properly change the oil on your Cub Cadet 33-inch walk-behind. Until next time, happy mowing.